Keith Ellison is a Muslim Democratic representative currently serving as deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee, and is causing quite a stir across social media this week after taking a picture of himself with a book promoting the violent Antifa movement. We all know that since President Donald Trump's election, so-called Antifa activists have initiated violent clashes on college campuses and at right-wing gatherings throughout the nation. The group has even been accused of using coordinated violent attacks against people they deem to promote any kind of far-right ideology, which to them is pretty much anyone who doesn't subscribe to socialist or outright Stalinist, Marxist views. Representative Keith Ellison has close ties to Louis Farrakhan, who is openly anti-Semitic. What we as an ideology and a party need to ask ourselves is why everyone on our side was so focused on a scuffle between President Trump and his former advisor Steve Bannon yesterday, while at the same time ignoring how this man has sided with and promoted a group which for all intent and purpose is a terrorist organization. Who even cares if Trump and Bannon get along? They can fight all they want, it won't change our lives. But what this religion of peace following fool votes on and promotes does affect our lives deeply. Via WND, Keith Ellison is Muslim Brotherhood operative DNC chief candidate and pilgrimage to Mecca paid for by subversive organization. Keith Ellison has been making the rounds on national media circuits as he campaigns for chairman of the DNC. But can we believe anything he says? Representative Keith Ellison, D. Minnesota, has been making the rounds on national media circuits as he campaigns for chairman of the DNC. But can we believe anything he says? Evidence is mounting in support of the allegation that U.S. Representative Keith Ellison, the nation's first Muslim congressman and a leading candidate for chairman of the Democratic National Committee, is a Muslim Brotherhood operative and has been for years. As a mouthpiece for that subversive organization, which Congress is considering declaring a terrorist organization, nothing Ellison says should be taken at face value, experts on the Brotherhood told WND. This explains how he could speak before Muslim Brotherhood-affiliated groups like the Islamic Society of North America and later claim he has no relationship with the group. In fact, he was scheduled to address the annual convention of another Brotherhood offshoot, the Muslim American Society or MAS, on Tuesday, but his name has suddenly disappeared from the list of convention speakers, reports the investigative Project on Terrorism. But Ellison has more to explain about his past than a few speaking engagements in front of dubious organizations. His ties run deeper. The same group that he was scheduled to address, the MAS, paid for Ellison's December 2008 pilgrimage to Mecca. MAS has been called a national security threat which has ties to the Brotherhood, as documented in a report Monday by IPT. MAS paid $13,500 for Ellison's pilgrimage, called the Hajj, to Mecca. It is listed as one of more than a dozen groups spawned by the Muslim Brotherhood in documents filed by the FBI during the Holy Land Foundation trial in Dallas in 2007-8. That trial, despite its unprecedented success in rooting out the American Muslims involved in financing the terrorist group Hamas, was shut down by former Attorney General Eric Holder soon after the Obama administration took office in 2008. Weekly strategy meetings with CARE. Chris Galbutz is a national security consultant and vice president of Understanding the Threat. He told WND that the concerns about Ellison's past are beyond disturbing. After my testimony before Congress this summer, his office actually confirmed that he has spoken at Muslim Brotherhood conferences held by the Islamic Society of North America, so there is no secret there, said Galbutz, co-author of Muslim Mafia, an investigative book based on documents he was able to secure while working as an undercover intern for the Council on American Islamic Relations or CARE. When I was working on the Muslim Mafia project, Ellison would do weekly projects with CARE, weekly strategy meetings at CARE's headquarters in D.C., Galbutz told WND. And then he's got some ties to the MAS as well. So he covers the whole gamut from ISNA to CARE, to MAS. All are affiliated with the Brotherhood. What can we believe? That brings us back to the question, given his ties to an international brotherhood whose stated goal is the spread of Sharia across the globe, Can Ellison be taken at his word when he speaks to the media or on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives? In fact, everything about Ellison's public life, his support for far-left causes such as same-sex marriage and abortion on demand through the later stages of pregnancy, might be a smokescreen. At best, he is a confused individual who doesn't square his spiritual life with his political stances, which seem to be at odds with each other. Unless you understand Islamic law. When his life is inspected under the lens of Sharia, maybe Keith Ellison isn't such an enigma after all, says a former Islamic imam and expert on the Muslim Brotherhood. The Code of Necessity. To understand Ellison you have to understand Sharia, says Dr. Mark Christian, who converted to Christianity in 2005 and changed his name from Mohammed Abdullah, leaving behind a comfortable life in Egypt as part of a prominent Muslim family. Get the book. Former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is calling the most important read of 2017. It's Stealth Invasion, Muslim Conquest Through Emigration and Resettlement Jihad, and it just arrived in the WND Superstore. So, does Sharia allow you to accept some stuff that is not Islamic in order to further the political agenda of Islam? Absolutely it does, Christian told WND. It is based on a teaching that is called the Code Necessity. This doctrine, based Quran 2-173, applies to one's personal life as well. If somebody lives outside his native country in a country that is not Muslim, say Europe or the United States back when they still were European and American, it was allowed for Muslims to eat meat that was not halal, and to fast in ways they are not supposed to fast, Christian said. This is Sharia, again, giving them latitude under the Code of Necessity. Christian said American politicians and Americans in general don't understand Islamic law and thus are easily deceived. It is put upon any Muslim to make the decision to abide or not abide with any Islamic rules or regulations based on if it's going to serve the cause of Islam, he said. If it's going to protect the life of a Muslim, or protect the person himself, you have the right to make changes to the rules if you are going to protect yourself or your family or another person who is part of your brotherhood as a Muslim in this non-Muslim country, or if it is going to protect and advance the cause of Islam itself in this society. One of the most pro-gay lawmakers in Congress, so Ellison can proudly advocate for LGBT rights to the point where the far-left ThinkProgress.org named him one of its 11 most pro-gay U.S. representatives. Where's the outcry from Muslim leaders? They know without even saying the words that he is doing this to further the cause of Islam, and they can actually cheer for him and help him out, says Christian, who founded the Omaha, Nebraska-based Global Faith Institute to help Christians and Jews understand Islam. That's because pandering to left-wing voting blocs like the homosexual lobby helps re-elect America's first Muslim congressman, term after term after term. And that's a good thing for Islam, Christian says, giving it legitimacy in what was a predominantly Christian nation. Sharia law not only allows this but encourages it, he said. Error setting up player, invalid license key image, www.wnd.com web link. Dr. Mark Christian grew up in a prominent Muslim family in Egypt and converted to Christianity as an adult. Dr. Mark Christian grew up in a prominent Muslim family in Egypt and converted to Christianity as an adult. Dr. Christian said he is himself a living example of the law of necessity. As a convert to Christianity, the rules of Sharia say he should be killed as an apostate. Yet, despite having endured threats and harassment from the Muslim community in Omaha, he lives on. Killing me as an apostate is not encouraged in a land that is not Islamic because it might give Islam a bad name and may not further the cause of Islam in America while the Muslim population is still small, he said. President Obama is treated the same way, even more delicately in fact, without so much as the slightest rebuke thrown his way for denying the religion of his birth. If Obama is truly a Christian, as he claims to be, that would mark him for death as an apostate. According to Sharia there is no way for a son of a Muslim father to avoid being Muslim, says Christian. There is only one exception, if he qualifies for the law of necessity. There is no budging on that, Christian said. Obama's father was a Muslim. But you have not heard any condemnation by any Muslim that Obama is not practicing Islam and says he's Christian. Why? I will tell you why, because such a condemnation would harm Islam, and the president himself is very helpful to the Islamic cause in America, so you will never hear any Muslim say Obama is an apostate and someone should kill him. Dr. Christian said the code of necessity as applied by Sharia law is the key to understanding Islam in a non-Islamic society like America. It is a way for them to put on the sheep's clothes and deceive most Americans as to who they really are, he said. This is why the naive Americans and especially the politicians have been deceived for years by Islam and the Muslim Brotherhood. If people realize the fact that Islam is a political movement, it would solve many problems we are facing in the West because of Islam and its deceptions, Christian added. Taqiyya, or the allowing of Muslims to be untruthful, is just a part of the larger Quranic principle called necessity. Taqiyya is a tool to cover for yourself in times of necessity, he explained. There are three things that justify it: protection of another Muslim's life, protection of oneself and protection of the Islamic movement. And as a matter of fact, it is not only that you are allowed to do that, it is actually praised, because it is looked at as an act of jihad when you are doing this. What is taqiyya? Taqiyya is found in Quran 16-106 and also in 328. This is what Sharia teaches, as taught by Muhammad, the founder of Islam. He practiced taqiyya, he practiced deceiving, he practiced all of that in his military career and in his political leadership career, Christian said. Muhammad was not just a military leader, he was also a political figure, the model for Ellison and any Muslim politician. He made treaties, he negotiated with others, and the military was just one part of his structure, Christian said. The way he negotiated with his hometown of Mecca when he was about to conquer it, he married one of the girls of the city so he was able to take over without spilling any blood. He was able to deceive them into believing things that were not true. Christianity's folly. Christianity has got it all wrong in America, he said. If Christianity doesn't change its response to Islam, it is going to be silenced by Islam, says Dr. Christian, who penned an op-ed on this topic Thursday in the Washington Times titled "Terrorizing Christmas." Christianity's response to Islam should not be to make Islam comfortable here in the West, trying not to offend by withholding from Muslims the hard truths of the gospel, he said. But before even the gospel can be shared, Christians must explain to Muslims how their religion is built on lies, he said. Christians are the most naive of all Americans, he told WND. They are the ones who don't understand and don't want to understand the danger that is sitting on the corner trying to devour every church and very Christian on earth. Again, he says, look at the life of Muhammad if you want to understand the driving force behind Islam. The very prophecy of Muhammad is that Jesus will come back not to lift up the church but to destroy the church, he said. This is the prophecy of Muhammad, so you are talking about the complete opposite of what Christianity teaches, but Christians are the most lame and naive of all because they are trying their best to do nothing in front of danger, which is something Jesus could never did. He spoke truth to power. And he was not afraid of a cross. Christians nowadays are hiding behind the cross. We are told to be on the cross and to make disciples of all nations. We are told to face danger and face our own cross on a daily basis. So is Keith Ellison a dangerous man? Is he an operative of the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been declared a terrorist organization by Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and the UAE, and is possibly going to be declared a terrorist organization by the United States if a bill now sitting in Congress gets passed under the leadership of a new president? Dr. Christian did not hesitate when asked the question. Absolutely. He is a Muslim Brotherhood operative. His relationship with the Islamic Society of North America and CAIR tells us he is. This is not a hidden fact, and these two groups are the Muslim Brotherhood and he's not denying his relationship and association with them whatsoever, so he already said he is a Muslim brother. So how is he able to run for the highest office in the Democratic Party, chairman of the DNC? Again, Americans are naive enough to believe that lipstick on a pig does not make it a pig, Christian said. I believe that us as a people from both sides of the political aisle need to start asking ourselves what's important to us. A president and an ex-advisor at odds with each other? Or a man who has clear and very questionable ties to terrorist groups and who endorses ideologies which go against everything our nation stands for? Please share if you agree we as Americans need to decide where our priorities lie.